All set? Okay, I call this meeting to order for Thursday, May 17th, 2018. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, would anybody like anything added to the agenda?
We need to add this. We need to add this.
Yes. Okay. Two things I'd like to add. First, I would like to talk about some things that came out of the Board of Finance meetings last night, May 16th. So we'll say the Board of Finance meeting, May 16th, and we'll put that right after public participation, because one of the items was buying computers or sending supplemental appropriation for computers to a town meeting, and I can see there's some people here from the Board of Education, so we won't make them stay for the entire meeting. And the second thing I would like to add, the second thing I would like to add is the reappointment of a person to the North Central Health District, Maria Whalen, as a regular member with a term expiring 2021. So I move we add those two agenda items, and that would be 8B. So I move we add those two agenda items. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, now public participation. Yes?
Yes, Maria Susan Penright, Road Striker. Under boards and commissions, reassignments and appointments, the appointments for the Charter Revision Commission isn't under there, it's under unfinished business. And I was just wondering why a list of those candidates that put their names in aren't listed on here so that we know who submitted. I went on the back to look at who was supposed to get distributions, and I know there's at least one, possibly two other people that aren't on the back of this that also have put in requests to be on that Charter revision, and I was just wondering why they're not included.
We have a list of 15 people who are going to be considered for the Charter revision. And who are the people you feel are not listed?
I would just like to list of the 15.
All right, I'll give you a list.
I can tell you there's Ms. Nodell that put her name in, that's not on there.
Yeah, she's here.
Boreas didn't put the name, not on there.
That's the application we got by May 11th. Further public participation. Yes.
Hi, Sarah Andrews, 144 Main Street. I'm just coming out tonight to speak in regards to the appropriation funding for the Board of Ed's request for the computers. I was at the Board of Ed meeting last week. I've heard their presentation as to how they plan to roll this out. It sounds really great, their plan for the computers. It's a necessity for the district. And they have a really good, I don't know the particulars, but they worked it out, and I would like that considered for the agenda tonight to get that forward to town meeting as the process needs to be. So I'm speaking in support of that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Further public participation. Paul.
Paul Anderson, 89 Main Street. I got 3 quick items. The town owns a piece of property at 5 Shank Road. Was taken with a tax lien, I believe. The house that's there is in horrible shape. It has no water service, except from a neighbor's house, which is not water service, I don't believe, to the building code. The roof's in terrible shape. Nobody's there. It's all boarded up. I understand that the neighbor wants to buy it and rehab the house. but it still doesn't have water service. It's a non-conforming lot. I'm kind of in favor of that building being taken down. So here's a package with pictures of the house. I only have one copy of that. But I thought it was something to be looked at and considered, that maybe we don't even want that there. It's in a terrible spot. So,
Yeah.
something to consider.
Yeah, I think I've talked to the property owner who wants the house.
Yeah.
And I think West River Farms has a development right there too.
Yes.
They might want to buy the land and clear the house. So
Whatever.
we're working on that.
Looking at it. Fair enough.
I'm glad you brought it up because now I know you're a concerned person.
Okay, I have two other quick items. One is the budget passed on the first try. No doubt in part due to the wonderful mailer put together by our new treasurer. I think that was spectacular. I think it had a big influence. We had real facts out there, hard to dispute. That helped tremendously. I think it's a big benefit to the town to have a budget pass. And there's been a lot of that going around in other towns around here. Budgets have been passing first shot. It's quite a good event. And my last item is an observation. When we do selectmen reports, I'm going to request, and you're in charge, you do what you want, that I think it would be best is when a selectman's giving his report, he gives his report in its entirety with no comments or observations from anyone else until they're done. Because it interrupts it and it throws off the train of thought. We have trouble following what somebody's trying to tell us. So I think that's my opinion. Okay, you do what you want with it, you're in charge.
I hear you.
So that's my take for today. Thank you.
Further public participation, yes.
Fran Neal, 153 Melrose Road. I am a member of the Board of Education, but I am here tonight as a concerned parent in support of the appropriation for the computers. And it's not just me. I had sent out an email, and a lot of people hadn't had a chance to get back to me, but these two people did. They sent you the emails too. If you guys check your emails, you'll have them. But we would strongly request that you please make sure that you set up a town meeting as soon as possible so that we would be able to have the town decide and vote to get the computers so that we would have them available for the kids in the fall. It's a cost-effective. At this point, the machines that are replaced are outdated, and it's getting much more expensive to repair them. And so I ask, as a parent of a kid who's going to be using one of these machines, please push this forward to a town meeting so that we can vote on it and hopefully get them going.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
No, I didn't need to. Bob?
Question, Mr. Chairman. Will there be time to speak in support of candidates for the commission appointments
Yes.
at that time?
Yes, that's a good, thank you. Bob?
Bob Like, 80 Rye Street, on behalf of the Veterans Commission, I'm proud to announce that we have the booklets in for the program that recognize all the people that put a lot of efforts into this whole thing. On the cover, it states that the dedication ceremony will be at 2 p.m. on Sunday. I know what everybody's going to ask, and I don't have the answer to we're going to be there. Dress appropriately. I also I just delivered a package to each of you, the token of our appreciation, and that's part of a thank you package I'm putting together. I just put a nice package together and went down. I see the casinos on the agenda here, and presented a nice thank you package with pictures and everything else to the 2 tribal chairmen, the chief of staff, and the director of communications. And all I'm going to say is it was warmly received, and at least one of the assistants that I went through before I got through security said, "Oh, East Windsor, a lot of exciting things going on up there." So it's positive, and that's the attitude they're taking.
Actually, what Bob gave us is this coin, town seal, and it says East Windsor Veterans Commission, and it says the dedication date, May 20th, 2018, which is next Sunday. 2 o'clock, right?
Yes.
This Sunday.
Further public participation? Yes.
Kate Carey Trull. I also just want, 28A Folkestone Road. I also just want to speak in support of the computers and the request for added appropriation, so if that can get moved to a town meeting in time and fashion, we would greatly appreciate it.
Okay. Further public participation? All right, then we'll move on. And
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of May 3rd, 2018.
okay.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we'll talk about the Board of Finance meeting, and I want to pass out these. This is an email I got today. Same one, just give it down to Peg. Okay, and the first is, I'll read the email. It says, it's from Gail Carolus, and she says, I'm helping Geraldine out by forwarding the following motion to you and your board from the Board of Finance meeting tonight to May 16th, 2018. She would greatly appreciate it if you could please put the motion below to tonight's Board of Finance, from tonight's Board of Finance meeting as an added agenda item to your May 17th, 2018 meeting tomorrow. To send the Board of Education computer purchase to a town meeting to coincide with your next Board of Selectmen meeting on June 7th. Time is of an essence, so the order can be placed as soon as possible to enable the IT department to have the computers in time to program them before the start of school. The following is the Board of Finance motion. Motion made by Bill Symes and seconded by Christensen to have $219,414.48 additional appropriation from the fund balance to the Board of Education for computers to go to the Board of Selectmen for a town meeting. So, what the Board of Finance is asking for is for us to move this additional appropriation to a town meeting. And if we did that, it would be at our next Board of Selectmen meeting at 7:30. So,
Okay.
if you want to discuss that at all, is there any discussion? Steve?
How come this $219,000, is that in your budget?
No.
Why wasn't it?
Maybe somebody want to speak to that?
What is or was originally in the Board of Ed budget was the first year of a 5-year lease. So the first year's payment of a 5-year lease was in the Board of Ed's budget. And we had approached the Board of Finance asking about the town supporting the lease payment. And through their conversations, the Board of Finance noted there was about a $60,000 savings over the life of the lease. And they elected to move forward with the motion to outright purchase rather than draw out a 5-year lease plan, which would have cost an additional $60,000 over the life of the lease.
And not only that, by using a supplemental appropriation, we don't have to tax for that budget. It won't be part of the expenditures in the budget.
Where does the money come from?
We do have a substantial fund balance, which is the money in addition to the money we put aside to pay for the budget. It's kind of like a savings account, and The fund balance is the amount of money you have above what you plan to spend next year. And it's just a common practice to keep 2 months of payments for that budget in kind of a savings account. And if you can do that, then the credit bureaus who look at the town will say you're in good financial shape. If you get no revenue for 2 months, you can keep paying your bills. Well, we have an additional amount to that, and that additional amount is really not helping us at all. And so by taking that amount, using it for something like this, and that will help our schools and not cost the taxpayer money, is a good use of our surplus in the fund. You could call it a rainy day fund. It's really a surplus in our general fund.
Does that mean that we could also fund an economic development professional out of that?
Yes, but usually when we fund things out of this fund balance, we like to fund things that are capital expenditures, things that, not salaries, because that would be setting us up for having to tax the next year. So we want to spend it in a way that won't incur subsequent taxes that we'll have to ask for. So this is an excellent use of that fund balance.
Do you know if the computers that they're talking about here are the lower cost, I'm trying to think of the term, that are being used in surrounding towns?
I guess I'll
I have the presentations we did to the Board of Finance if you would like to see them. We actually, Ty, our IT director, did quite a bit of research because the Board of Finance asked for a comparison of devices.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume you're referencing the Chromebooks?
Right.
Okay. There are a number of negatives to us going to the Chromebook. That's not the model that we use now. There would be a significant turnover of our operating systems, which would have a cost and time from our staff. So if you would like a copy of this, it outlines the pros and cons of all the models that we looked at.
And the Chromebook actually was $50 more than the current model that we've been using over the last 5 years.
The Chromebooks run around 300 or 400, don't they?
Yeah, but with we did a comparison of 4 different models, and we included in that a 5-year warranty on each one with accidental damage coverage, and the warranty is what jacks up the price of the Chromebook.
So what is the cost then per unit?
The model that we selected is $603.20.
It's a pretty darn expensive laptop, isn't it?
Yeah, we compared 4 different models. One was $800, the Chromebooks was $650. The current model that we have is $600, and the lowest model was $570, HP Stream.
So what kind of warranty do you have on these? You say you're buying
5-year.
5-year warranty with accidental damage, and also the Dell models, which we've been using, they send techs to the schools to do the repairs on site, whereas the others, warranties that we would have to ship them out. So it would kind of be like a FedEx operation out of the schools. I mean, you can have anywhere from 25 repairs a week, so we're constantly shipping them out. It's next day on-site service and repair if the parts aren't on back order.
How long was that for?
5 years. The length of the 5 years. If it was a lease, it would be 5. Outright purchase, it's still 5 years.
Generally, computers don't all go bad on May 31st or whenever. So there was no thought about just gradually putting these in and putting X number per year. Because I'm thinking down the road that it's such a big expenditure that you get to the end of 5 years again and you do the whole thing, as opposed to you're spending $75,000 over time.
This is actually part of a multi-wave replacement. They were purchased in 3 waves with state grant money. So this is replacing just about a third of our student devices and about a third of our teacher laptops. The issue that we have is that the warranty on the current models is running out, and for the cost of repairs, it's not fiscally, we don't feel it's fiscally responsible to not investigate looking at replacing to get the new 5-year warranty. It would cost us about $75,000 a year to repair the devices that we currently have at the rate that they are needing repairs now. And the fact that Dell will come on site, the devices are not out of commission for more than a couple of days, given the fact that the students are using this as their primary instructional, it's their primary mode of output, it's a huge resource reference. Many of our textbooks have been replaced by online resources, so the fact that Dell will come on site and has a very quick turnaround with repairs is invaluable to our students and teachers.
How many are there in this order for 200,000?
There's 227 student devices and 78 teacher devices. We actually, we pulled a report from Dell over the last 12 months, and we're averaging 50 repairs a month, so.
How many units is that again?
227 student units and 78 teacher units.
And what will happen with the 227 plus 78 that you take in?
So what we'll do with the, you mean the ones that we currently have?
Right, right.
We'll either use them to replace ones that are out for repair, or we will use them at the lower grades, our K1, 2, which currently do not have devices, because those students are using them in their classroom at a less frequent rate and under, they're on their desks with the teachers right next to them, so the rate of potential damage is much less. But that would allow us to teach to the state technology standards that are in place from grades K through 12. So we have a state requirement to teach the technology skills. We just haven't had the devices available to do it to this point. So that's how we use them.
So the 227 is, that's going to cover everyone in the high school?
No, it will be grades, next year's grade 8, 11, and 12. That's where the first wave of devices was deployed when we started the one-to-one initiative.
Got it.
Our plan is to pull in all the ones that are out of warranty before July 1, and any that need to be repaired, get them repaired before the warranty's out, so that we do have a good amount of spares and to outfit K through 2.
Okay.
Excuse me, could I just ask a question? I'm assuming your time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So how much, when the budget got passed, what was the increase for the schools for this year?
4.35.
4.35. How much money did that amount to? Any idea?
I don't have it off the top of my head.
So where will that extra 4.35 be spent?
What that will do is preserve our staff and our programs. If we didn't get that, we would have been cutting. If we had, if the referendum had failed and we had received a 2%, we would have been looking to cut about $1.2 million. We had a list of 52 items, I believe, on a list of potential reductions for the Board of Ed to consider, if that were the case, including 15 staff.
My recollection of the presentation in the Board of Education was that that number included computers.
Originally, the Board of Ed passed a budget request to come to the town that was a 5.71. That included the cost of the first-year lease. The Board of Finance over their deliberations reduced our budget $300,000.
So are we gaming the system by putting the money back in again that the board took out?
I don't view it that way at all. Not at all. I think we do. I think we do have to use some of this surplus money, this fund balance, to offset costs that we would charge the taxpayers. And so that would save the taxpayers money. And actually, I'm jumping ahead a little, but the other thing that was talked about at the Board of Finance meeting that's on the flip side of that memo is they want us to get together on June 11th at a joint meeting with the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen, and they want to come up with another supplemental appropriation, probably in excess of this, to use on other capital projects. So we're really trying to spend down this surplus money that we have in a way that will help the tax base and help the taxpayers. And so we're not gaming any system. We're trying to save the taxpayers' money, basically. Also, it doesn't help us really, and maybe even hurts the town to have too much money. So that's what they're trying to address. So I will look for something. I'll entertain a motion. And I move that we send to a town meeting supplemental appropriation of $219,414.48 on June 7th, 2018. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion, further discussion.
And June 7th is going to be for what now? That's
It's
our
for
meeting.
we often have town meetings during our meetings, so by scheduling it for June 7th, we'll start our meeting at 7 o'clock, stop for a town meeting at 7:30 to pass this, or at least vote on this supplemental appropriation, and we'll continue our regular Board of Selectmen meeting.
We can do this even though it wasn't on the agenda?
Yes, we added it to the agenda.
Okay.
Well, under Board of Finance meeting.
All right.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
All right.
Andy?
I'm opposed.
Okay.
I think it should come out of their monies.
You're opposed? See? Okay. I will vote for it, but that doesn't pass it. But I think too, I don't think the Board of Finance has authorized this. I don't think we can, what we can do is prevent it from going to a town meeting, but if somebody gets 20 signatures, they can send it to a town meeting. So I think, I hear what you're saying, but...
Well, the only basis is that we and the Board of Finance worked very hard on a budget. We gave it a lot of consideration. We took some things out, we put some things in, and it was the budget. Now, I understand what you're saying. Surplus money doesn't necessarily do us good, but we're just starting a budget year. And now we're adding another $250,000.
Two different budgets, Bob.
Okay. I think what we'll, well, let me just say that, I'll give an example. And if that's no good, we're going to, we could have an executive session at the end of this meeting, and maybe we could vote again. But an example was the Rubber Fire Department wanted a pumper. Well, I'm not sure. One needed a truck repairs, and it was going to cost, I believe, $160,000. And they asked for it in their budget. And so they asked for $80,000 this year in their budget, and then $80,000 next year, and then they could afford to repair this fire truck. And so that would have raised our taxes this year by $80,000. But instead, what they voted to do was take the whole 160 from this surplus money, repair the pumper now, and reduce the amount of expenditures, or reduce our budget by $80,000. That was a win for the taxpayers, and it was a win for the fire department, and in a sense, it reduced our surplus that we want to do. And it's kind of the same principle right here. We have to buy these computers. We can do it by taxing in a budget, or we can do it by taking the money from the surplus and not taxing the taxpayer.
Well, Bob, the Board of Education can also look at what was their budget, $23 million, something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
And they can look at rejuggling to get a couple $100,000 out of it.
From where?
There's no rejuggling to be done.
From where?
Okay, well, I think rather than have an argument, we're going to say that we didn't pass it at this time, and so we'll move on. Sarah, go ahead.
I want to make one comment. This is talking about two different budget cycles. The budget that just passed is not for, like, it's two different cycles. This is happening now in this cycle, so what just passed does not affect this money, is what I'm just trying to say. I don't know if we're confused that this should be coming out of what they budgeted for next year, you know.
Okay, we've heard you, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so now, the next thing is just, if you want to have a joint, anybody have a problem with having a joint meeting with the Board of Finance on June 11th?
No, that's a good idea.
Okay.
Good.
Okay. All right, so now we'll go on to communications. Is there any communications? Okay, I don't have any communications. Resignations. I move to accept the resignation of James M. Halloran from the American Heritage River Commission. Is there a second?
With regret. With regret.
With regret. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now, the reappointment that I think, let's see, did you get this from Peggy? This?
Yes.
Okay, so, I move we reappoint Maria Logan to the North Central Health District Committee for a term expiring 4/1/2021. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I move we, new appointments, I move we appoint to the Planning and Zoning Commission Ann Gobin as the alternate member for a term expiring 10/1/2019. Is there a second?
Second.
Question, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I move we appoint Daniel Morgan to the Veterans Commission, a regular member for a term expiring 5/1/2021. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now the 250th anniversary.
Saturday is the opening of the bicentennial time capsule. Last meeting, I think I'd given all of you your invite. That is happening at 2:30 this coming Saturday here at the town hall. It will be inside, so we don't have to worry about a rain or shine date. And then on the Sunday, the day after, is the Veterans dedication at 2 o'clock down in the Warehouse Point Green. And then on June 3rd is the ribbon cutting of the Melrose Bridge. That is at 10 o'clock on June 3rd, which is also Connecticut Trails Day. So shortly following the ribbon cutting is the hike around the 2.5-mile loop.
That's a new bridge.
Yeah, well, it's the same bridge. They just put the layer on top of it so you can walk across. They're still working on.
What end is that going to be on?
What was that?
What end will that? Are you doing it on one end, the other end, or
For
where should you go?
It's just going to be down at the end of Melrose Road where the Scannick River Bridge is.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you can walk across it now and everything too. But we're going to have an official ribbon cutting on the 3rd.
So you can come in from either the Melrose side or the Warehouse Point side, correct?
No, there's only one side. You can only go on the Melrose side. We don't have a trail system yet connecting from the other side.
Okay.
Eventually, there will be one day, but we're not there yet. And those are our most upcoming events that are before the next Selectmen meeting. So, that's it.
Great.
Thank you.
Hope you guys can all come on Saturday.
Rebecca, question. Where do you get tickets for the farm and home show?
They're on this yellow piece of paper over here. The website is, there's a link on our website, $250, but there's also the actual eastwindsandgardner.com for ticket sales. I believe.
Can you get them hard copies someplace?
Yes. Look on the website and it's all there. I know that it's changed a couple times, so I want to give you the wrong information.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, now the casino. Bob, do you want to say anything about the casino, or just that you went down there and gave him a coin?
And the torpedoes full speed ahead.
All right. I'll just mention that what I mentioned last week is that on May 30th, there's going to be a public hearing for the wetlands, and then that'll be held here at Town Hall. And then on June 13th, a public hearing for planning and zoning, and that'll be in the high school auditorium. Okay.
Where do they stand with respect to submitting engineering and architectural renderings of what they're going to do?
Well, I suspect for planning and zoning, they should have
will that include drawings at that time?
I think a rendering. It won't be a detailed plan for the casino with it's saying where the footings would go and where the sprinkler systems will be and where the entrances will, size of rooms, where they'll.
But not the engineering drawings.
So not the detailed drawings. That'll be when they submit for the building permit, which will probably be in the fall. Probably take us a month just to go through that detailed design and see if it complies with all the state building statutes. So.
And I talked to Rand about that one time. He plans to get some assistance from some organization he used before to assist in looking at those drawings. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes. There's an organization that if the cost of the building is more than a significant amount, or it's above a threshold, and 300 million is well above the threshold, then they will do the work to look at that. You need a special expertise to look through.
Is that a big expense? And where is that budgeted?
That will have to. That would come. That will be a problem, in a sense. When they give us the detailed specifications, they'll also have to give us a building for the building permit. They'll have to give us a substantial amount of money, probably close to $2 billion.
Yes.
And that should be used to pay for part of the building of this casino.
So that money can be used for the review of engineering drawings, detailed drawings?
If we do a supplemental appropriation for it, yes, but it's not in the budget.
But that money goes into the town coffers to offset the need to make that engineering evaluation.
In a sense, although a lot of the revenue from the building department just is considered revenue, and they're operating on a lot less than they bring in.
Yeah, there was no place that we budgeted that this year.
No.
And that's a big number.
That's a big number, so you really don't want to have that part of your budget.
And I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so now we'll go on to establishing the Charter Revision Commission. And to do that, in your package, there's two things. One is a motion that I'd like to make, or one of you might make. And then attached to that is the Charter Revision Commission charge from the Board of Selectmen May 17th meeting, 2018. We discussed that, and that was the charge that we agreed that we'd like to give them. They're not confined to that, and we can change that as time goes along and talk to them, so it'll be an open commission, but we'll definitely give them a charge. So does somebody want to make that motion? Put it on the front page.
What was that again, Bob? I
Okay,
was looking through
yeah.
my papers.
One
here.
thing that I'll say, though, what in the motion, I suggested 10 members as members of the Charter Commission. The reason I did that is I wanted to have a number of members, as many as we can easily accommodate, and also by having an even number, then to pass something, it would have to be at least a 6-4 vote, which would mean that it wouldn't be close, or as close as it might be. So I'd recommend a 10-member Charter Revision Commission.
I was thinking more of an odd number, but there's good logic to what you're saying.
Point of order.
Yeah.
Any chairman of any commission can vote twice to break a tie.
Okay.
Just saying.
Thank you, Bob.
That's why the odd number is usually used so that the chairman would not have to do that.
Okay, thank you. So does somebody want to make that motion, or want to discuss it further?
No. Steve, you want to make it? Or
You want to read it?
we're looking at it right here, you want it, right?
Yeah. I move to establish, and the whole thing.
All right. I move to establish a Charter Revision Commission consisting of 10 members. The CRC shall meet twice per month at the date and place to be determined by the Commission. The CRC will elect a chairman and a secretary. The CRC shall review, amend, and revise the East Windsor Charter received April 7th, 2010, as prescribed by the CGS. The CRC shall be charged with addressing the areas number 1 through 9 listed in the document titled Charter Revision Commission Charge from the Board of Selectmen, May 17th, 2018.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we've established the committee. Now we can, or commission, now we'll appoint the members.
The charge to the commission, I don't see anything in here about considering line item approval.
Oh. It should be in there.
I don't see it.
In mine, on item 5, the last sentence says, also consider a line item approval.
You got it.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. What I have here, a list, and this was in your packet. Does anybody not have the list of 15?
We have it.
Do you have that, Charlie?
Yeah.
Okay. We can vote on each person individually, I guess, or we could just fill out the ballot. There might
Let's
be.
fill out the ballot and give them to you, and then...
All right, then we can, we'll give them to Peg and let her. So you can only choose 10. And then we'll have Peg read off who voted for whom, so that we should record who voted for whom. So on this piece of paper, just rip it off, put your name on the top.
Point of order.
Yes?
It's normally been the preview of the Board of Selectmen to allow those candidates that are here that are interested to speak, so I would appreciate if that would be allowed to happen. But if you're not familiar with somebody, They can give you their background, because I don't think anybody has anything that was submitted directly to the Board of Selectmen.
I agree, so let's do that. And someone said they wanted to speak. I forgot who it was. Bob.
Bob Leach, 39 Church Street, Chairman of the Republican Town Committee. Two candidates that are on your list came to the Town Committee and expressed an interest to be on this commission. We haven't had time with convention and all the politics going on to meet and endorse those people, so I'll be speaking on behalf of the chairman's point of view anyway. One candidate was Rachel Safford. Ms. Safford brings a fresh point of view, a fresh perspective to that commission. She also represents a younger generation in this town that doesn't have much voice on many boards and commissions. I think her education and her background in research and analytics lends itself well to that commission. I'm the only other person also that was interested. And speaking on my behalf, there again, I represent a somewhat younger generation also. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm the only one that's applied to that commission that has school-age children. So, point of view, so maybe the Board of Selectmen should take a look at a good representation of the people in town. I think is what your desire would be.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything? You're welcome. Thank you. Anybody else want to say anything? Yes.
Hi, I'm speaking of one of the individuals that applied. He unfortunately had to be out of town, Tim Dickinson. I believe he lives on Church Street. He's a very active member in the community as far as participation. He does have school-age children. He's very active on different boards in his church, boards with his children's youth athletic opportunities. He's a very dedicated individual. Unfortunately, he had to attend a family out of town unexpectedly, but he's a good voice, and he's a good kind of like listening on both sides of the fence to try to get to a resolution, and I think he'd be somebody good to consider for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
I need a name.
Oh, Sarah Andrews, 144 Main Street.
Thanks,
Sorry.
Sarah.
Anybody else?
I'm Christina Nordell, 7 Grandview Terrace. I have applied to be on the Charter Commission. I'm an educator myself, and I have 2 young children in East Windsor, and I'd really love the opportunity to be able to look at the charter and really work with a team to see if this really meets our current needs within the town and make some changes if we need to.
Thank you. All right, Mr.
Dick Pippin. I'm Dick Pippin. You guys all know me, but since everybody else is putting their name forward and making a speech, I guess. I've been in town 51 years. I served 9 years on the Board of Selectmen, so I am infinitely knowledgeable of the charter and the workings. I also sat on the last Charter Commission. I know a lot of the pitfalls that happened because of that. I'd like to get in there and help you get it going and correct the faults of the charter we now have.
Okay, thank you. Marie?
Yeah, Marie D'Souza, 10 Rice Road. I want to commend those people that were on the, I think you call it a subcommittee, that stepped forward and put their name on this list again. But I think it's imperative for this town to have another set of eyes taking a look at the charter. Those recommendations that they're putting forward for a new group to take a look at it. There may be some overlap, which is good, but I would hate to see all the same people from the previous subcommittee get on when we're looking for fresh eyes. And the voters this time around voted Town of East Windsor and voted that the school system, the education system in this town is important. And if you talk to realtors and if you talk to people that are looking at East Windsor, they're finally saying maybe our children might have a chance if we go to East Windsor because they're now starting to look at the importance of education. And if you talk to any real estate people out there, they'll tell you that #1 out there, and the youth, whether you like it or not, or whether I like it or not, they are the future of East Windsor. Our parents that have come out in the future. So I want to thank all them people that have come out and added their names. I think we need fresh eyes to look at things. To move ahead, so please take that under consideration.
Okay, another comment? All right. is there anything that the Board of Selectmen wants to say or talk about any individual? Okay, what we'll do then is think about this carefully, and on your list here, make an X on the box that you want to be on the committee. Think about it carefully again, because you've only made 10 selections, so don't omit the last name because you've already...
You want that done now?
Yes, if there's no more discussion. Okay. And your name's on it, right, Andy? Because your name's on the ballot.
I did.
Okay. Think about it. Okay. So if you tally those,
I will if I can, saying I
Oh,
not
dear.
saying so well. Actually, I cannot. So
Okay.
I ask one of you guys to do it, or how about Paul? Paul, could you?
Do whatever you want.
all right.
Please.
I'll do the best I can.
You don't want any
You're gonna do
collusion
better.
here now.
I don't even know what that means.
There you go.
That's the problem, if you don't know what that means.
Let me ask my lawyer.
Okay. Rudy. So when you come up to the table, you might as well have an official seat. Do you want that?
Quick, doesn't matter.
All right, you got it.
You're not going anywhere.
Okay, because obviously, no days with the initials.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Perfect, you got a system. All right. We can do that. Okay.
It's okay to talk among yourselves.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I'll just go through the list. Morning, or evening, Tom.
Evening.
Don Arcari was voted for by Andy, myself, Charlie, and Steve. Cher Balch was voted for by, and won. Cher Balch was voted for Andy, Steve Dearborn, and Charlie, and she won. Elizabeth Burtons was voted for by Andy, Charlie, and Steve, and she won. Tim Dickinson was voted for by me. Bob Leach was voted for by Andy. Bill Lowes was voted for by everyone, and he won. John Matthews was voted for by everyone, and he won. John Mazza was voted for by Andy, Charlie, and Steve, and he won. Christina Nordell was voted for by me. Richard Pippin didn't get any votes. Rachel Stafford was voted for by me, Charlie Szymanski, Steve Dearborn, and she won. John Simonelli was voted for by me. Charles Szymanski was voted by everyone, and he won. Keith Yagaloff was voted for everyone, and he won. And Bonnie Yoski was voted for by everyone, and she won. So the 10 members are Don Arcari, Cher Balch, Elizabeth Burns, Bill Lowes, John Matthews, John Mazza, Rachel Stafford, Charles Szymanski, Keith Yagaloff, and Bonnie Yoski. Okay, now we'll move on to youth services, new business, Youth Service Bureau. And that was in your package, and if you look at the memo from Chris Davis, the Education Commission allowed East Windsor to apply for a Youth Services Bureau, and we would have to do that, we'd have to put up $14,000 as a matching contribution, up to $14,000, and we'll have to match what they give us.
It's a little bit here to digest.
Yes.
And understand what that all means.
Right.
Because I don't quite understand what the...
And we can also put it off till the next meeting if we choose.
We can get an explanation of what all this means and the value of it?
Yes.
Melissa or somebody come in and talk to us about it?
Okay. I'll give you my understanding, but this is kind of tells about it a lot, and I think a key sentence in this is youth well, let me also say, in the front page, it says that currently 91 youth service bureaus serving 122 communities operate. So most towns have a youth services bureau. And then I guess the page 3, it says youth services bureau can provide, but not limited to providing the following services: individual group counseling, parent training, family therapy, workplace and employment counseling, alternate and special education opportunities. But now it really says what I feel is the important things is the counseling on pregnancy, suicide, violence, alcohol, and drug use prevention, positive youth development programs. Their services must be designed to divert youth from juvenile and justice system and give them opportunities to function as responsible members of the community. We had a youth group and a youth center, and that has ceased to exist. And what this would do is fund, and we talked to Christine DeBarge about it, and Melissa, and it would allow us to use part of the high school as a place where youth could go, and would have these programs, and we could interact with other communities. And by applying for this grant, then we would continue to get funding for this. But that's just my understanding. You can also, in the package was, Melissa and I went to the state legislature and testified in favor of this, and you can see her testimony. But we can bring her in, so I don't. You know,
yeah, let's do that, because
okay.
I don't really understand all of it.
Yeah.
I also don't understand, you know, if you put up 14,000, you get the matching, and what other expenses are added on top of that as you move along. Does this become something that continues to creep and add? I don't know.
Well, I think
there's not enough knowledge from reading this to come to any conclusion.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. So,
is it turn out that the funding would be limited to 28K?
I think so. Although,
or are there administrative costs that are not bearable by this funding?
I think I don't have all the answers either. Maybe hearing your questions, we can have people who are operating youth service bureaus, because Windsor Locks has one, and probably other surrounding towns.
It would just be of more value to talk to someone who has some experience with it and understands its real value.
Certainly. And so we'll do that.
Who would manage the money?
Beg pardon?
Who would manage that $28,000?
The treasurer. They would get invoices.
But it would be something under Melissa's purview, right? She would manage it.
Well, that's a question too. I think she would, but
in conjunction with the school system, I would guess.
Yes, that's something we haven't worked out.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be something to do. In fact, I have a phone call, a conference call tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, and with the superintendent of schools, with Melissa and myself, to talk about this. So we're going to have more information then. So. Okay. And the next thing is we want to approve the National Public Works Week proclamation. Every year we do this, and Lenny wrote an email saying that they're going to have a food drive for the National Public Works Week.
Okay, so what do you want to do here?
So I would say if somebody wants to make a motion to approve the National Public Works Week proclamation, that would be a good thing to do.
I'll make a motion that we accept the National Public Works Week proclamation.
Okay.
Get it out there.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we've done that. Tax refunds. Somebody want to make a motion for that?
I make a motion to return the refunds to the individuals listed here in the amount of $601.74.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Selectmen reports. Andy, you're up.
The meeting for the Economic Development Commission is Monday. There is one important facet that is taking place, and that is we did receive a proposal from the Resource Center. I've looked at it. I think that Bob Like looked at it. You've looked at it, and it's been returned for them to modify. Is that correct?
Yes, but we've gone further than that now.
Okay.
I'm comfortable with it, Lori Witten's comfortable with it, and we've actually signed an agreement with it.
Okay.
So we're going to move forward. They're going to come to the meeting Monday night, so there'll be a representative there. I think one person's name is Courtney Henderson, and she'll probably be there.
Okay.
And there might be a second person too. So we're going to move forward, and the primary objective is to develop that economic development website and
Yes.
some other tangential things.
With a second important objective, and that is to also inventory property in town. That's a second priority. And the third one, which is kind of tough, is to survey and inventory the businesses in town, and that's a hard one.
Well, that's why we're hiring a professional,
Yeah.
so yeah.
I don't even know where you get the data for that one.
Well, I think the assessor would be a good place to start.
And I've done that.
Yeah.
And the problem is that the for the most part, that office has information on the property owner, but not necessarily on the business. I struggled to get the business.
That's true, because you have an owner of the building who rents it out to a business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But I did ask about that at the last Wales Point Firemen's meeting.
Oh, yeah.
They have their day people that they have gone out during the day to businesses in the district to obtain emergency contact information for that business, the event of a fire, whatever. So they do have a list.
How extensive is that, Charlie?
I didn't see the list, but they have it.
There supposedly are near 1,000 businesses here in town of various descriptions.
Yeah, they where there's a building where there's multiples, they have them. So, but we'll get with them anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
And get that for you.
Okay.
Andy, the economic development meeting, what time is that?
Yes.
That's 6 o'clock on Monday.
It's coming Monday.
It's coming Monday.
Where?
It's right here.
We added discussed it.
That's all I had, Bob.
Good. Charlie?
Yeah, from the last selectmen's meeting, I brought up about getting some positive publicity about the East Windsor schools and doing something here on a billboard regarding people who were on the honor roll and so forth. And I did want to connect with the superintendent, and I was able to get a meeting scheduled with her and the assistant superintendent for Andy and I to meet with them on the 29th.
Okay.
So from that, we'll frame something out so that, again, it's all about, positive aspects. And, we have so many people coming through the town hall from realtors and people looking, maybe they want to buy something here. I think that will really be good for that purpose and recognition for the people as well.
Okay. Steve?
Nothing to report.
Okay, Jason?
I just want to congratulate the folks who organized the pro-budget efforts last week. It's been easily a decade since a budget referendum passed on the first try, and that doesn't happen without a lot of community organization and support. So I just want to recognize them and thank them for their efforts on behalf of the town.
Okay. And that was a surprise. That was the first time a budget has passed, I think, since on the first referendum since 2011, and the one that passed in 2011 was a budget of 1.97, so that was even less than 2%. So congratulations to everybody. And I have just two things to report. One is I did attend the vintage baseball game, and that was fun. That was fun. I did learn, though, that if you're going to sit and watch a baseball game in the bright sun, you should wear sunscreen. And the other thing is the Housing Authority is considering building more buildings or residences on the 7 acres that they were given, and they have architects come and give proposals. They're going to choose an architect and try to get a grant. So I attended one meeting. I think there's another meeting the 21st, but I can't attend that one. So there's something going on up there.
Is that over here, Park Hill you're talking about?
Yes, Park Hill.
And how many more units would they add?
I'm not sure exactly. I think it depends on the grant and things, but could be up to 60. I'm not sure. Do you have any idea?
There's been no determination.
Yeah, okay.
We're just in phase one. We're looking at proposals from the architects that responded to the RFP. We had a meeting last night to interview 2 companies. We have 2 more next Wednesday, and then the 28th, I believe, is when we make a final decision as to what architect we're going to go with.
That's a pretty expensive project, isn't it? What's a building cost these days? $100 a square foot?
We haven't got that far, and it all depends on what we're building and what we're not building. It is too premature to go out there and say anything at this point. We need to start first with a proper survey of the property. That would be the first thing we do after we get the architect, and then we'll go from there. Because we don't know how much wetlands we have, we don't know how much usable land we have, and that's all contingent upon what the future might hold for that property. So we'll do one phase at a time.
And one thing I learned when I was there, there's 2 possible types of structures they could build, and one would be what they call a congregate structure, and that would have it would be for more of an assisted living type thing, where people would come at a dining room for a meal, and there'd be people to make sure that things were okay in their apartments, where another one would be not to have that and have just separate apartments, like similar to what they have, maybe more than 1 story, but a different configuration, but it wouldn't be an assisted living type place. And I kind of, I asked why wouldn't you do a congregate facility, and they said that they have a hard time getting a grant for that, but it would be easier to get a grant for just apartment type buildings. So.
Did you say they were considering 2 stories?
Yes. Some of the architects, this is, again, as Marie said, just high-level stuff. And the architectural firms, they first had 5 that they were considering, cut it down to 4 now. As Marie said, they're going to interview. And they had renderings of different things they had worked on, and some of them did have more than 1 story, but that's, who knows what it's going to be.
Just an aside, I guess, for elderly living units, 2 stories sound like a bad idea.
Well, actually, my mother was in a 2-story, and they have elevators, and it's almost like
2 stories?
Well, maybe it was 3 or 4, but if you had elevators, it would solve that problem.
Yep.
Okay, so that does it. I think I would entertain a motion to take a 5-minute.
Could I just say one thing? We have a meeting set up with the fire chief from one of the fire districts in Enfield, Charlie McSada. He's fire chief of Shaker Pines, to get some information as to how he thinks the fire districts up there work how they fund it, what public participation there is in approving their budgets, and what the control on budgets are. And that's going to be on the 22nd at 10 o'clock here.
Yeah, in fact, I posted a special meeting.
Yes, you
for that.
did. I have that here.
So it's open to the public, and we'll be here at 10 o'clock, May 22nd. Jason?
I'd like to, I wasn't here when the added agenda item was discussed. I understand that we kind of stalemated on that. I'd like to reconsider that, since the numbers were now all here. So I'd like to move to reconsider.
Does anybody object to that? Okay. You want to make a motion then?
I would move to forward it to a town meeting.
Okay. Further discussion? Well, there was a lot of discussion that they felt, or the people who voted no, felt that the money, they weren't comfortable with the way the money was taken from the fund balance, and they were looking down into the future, seeing what might occur and how. And maybe you could, Charlie, you could speak a little toward that. There were questions, and so we didn't want to accept it tonight to move it to a town meeting, but I voted for it, and I think it's a good idea. So I guess
I voted against it, and my reasoning was that it sounds to me like we're gaming the system. Number one. Number two, the school budget is large, and to find a couple $100,000 in the school budget is doable without additional funding.
Okay, Gail wants to say something, so I'd like to hear from Gail. Go ahead.
Well, I would like to just explain what spending the fund balance on projects kind of at the end of a fiscal year. If the fund balance is too high, it can prevent you from getting grants and things like that. So typically, we wait till the end of a fiscal year, and then we select projects or one-time expenditures that doesn't create ongoing costs, and come up with a list of those and then send them to town meeting. It's a way to give the money back to the taxpayers. And then the taxpayers do have the authority then to vote on them, which ones they want. It's a way to defer or to prevent from having to raise taxes to pay for things. So in the past, we've done like about $900,000, I believe, last fiscal year with projects that were outlined. Like Bob said, another candidate would be like the pumper truck. So you do that, you save money for the town, you extend the life 15 years of the fire truck rather than having to invest in another one. And you select those projects and you send them to the voters. And the other way that you give that money back is in the offset budget, like we did the $400,000 this year. So that is just, and the reason that this one was singled out from the discussion that the Board of Finance would like to do the dual meeting is just because of the time constraints of getting those computers on order so they'd be ready for the next year. But that was definitely on the list when Amy left. She had asked for a list to be combined, and the 3 items that she put on there were the oil tank at the middle school, the computers, and the pumper truck, and then to come up with additional items. But those are the 3 that she thought were the most critical. And the reason the Board of Finance asked to move that forward for a town meeting before discussing with you as a whole the other projects was because of the time constraints of getting them ready for the next fiscal year.
And I understand that. Yeah. I understand the tax advantage, or the advantage from the standpoint of having an acceptable balance in that fund. But we haven't discussed other things. It kind of came as a surprise to me tonight that that was going to be added to the agenda. Are there other items that are equally worthy of consideration? If there are, I don't even know what they are.
Right, well, that's the point of the meeting, the dual meeting, is they're going to be bringing things, and I believe Bob has some.
And I don't think we should approve, well, I've already voted against it, but I don't think we should approve that at this point in time.
Well, that was one item that I believe was taken out of the Board of Ed's budget because there's a savings of about $70,000 to the taxpayer by purchasing them outright rather than leasing them.
Gil, do you know, just back of the envelope, how much we expect to lapse back into the general fund this year?
This year, we're still getting cuts from the state, like our TAR money. We've got 50% cut, so.
If you had to guess.
I would guess possibly about 500,000.
So more than twice what the cost of this would be.
That would be a guess. I mean, and totally rough guess right now.
And I would just like to say something just that you said, and there's a big difference in my mind between taking the fund balance and spending it on one-time things that the town needs and calling it revenue for a year. And that's what we're doing too. We did this year with the budget. We took $450,000 and called it revenue for this year. And so we lowered our taxes by $450,000. And that's okay as long as, like Jason said, we might have that again next year. But there's going to come a time when we don't have that $450,000, and then we have to go out and tax the taxpayers for that additional revenue because we don't have it. So that's what I call creating a revenue hole. When you call something in our savings account revenue, but to buy something that's needed, it really is a good thing. You're not setting yourself up for future expenditures, so that's a good thing.
I want to say something again. With their increase, their 4.35 increase over what they get from us every year, like 2/3 of the budget, they got over $1 million.
900,000.
All right, 920,000 or whatever it comes out to be. I didn't even figure in the 0.35. I just did 4%. Take the money from that and buy the computers.
Okay.
It just seems to me there's never enough money for the school system. They want. All right, so now they're in here looking for this other money. So instead of 920,000 or whatever it is, now it puts them an increase for the year over $1 million.
In a sense. Yeah,
okay?
That's true.
So take it out of the $920,000 to buy the computers.
Okay, any more further discussion? If your motion hasn't been seconded, I'll second it. So let's vote. All those in favor of sending the $219,414.82, I think, to a town meeting on June 7th. Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so it passes. Thanks to your presence, Jason. Okay, so now I would entertain a motion to take a 5-minute break and go into executive session.
Did you sign the checks? Did you sign the check registers?
Thank you. No, we have them right here, and we're going to do it.
Yeah, I bet you are.
Have a good night.
Well, Mighty Mouse, you came at the right time. No, I don't want to.
He's pushing pretty hard to be first selectman next time around. You know something? Way off the few, 4 students to every school employee.